ambassadors from SLJC. We have a lot planned for y'all today, starting with a presentation from Generation Ratify Georgia, and then panel discussions with each of our guest speakers. So before we get into all of that, let me introduce myself. My name is Mehar Nimani, and I'm a junior at Centennial High School. I'm part of the Student Leadership Johns Creek Class of 22 and a Secretary of State Ambassador this year. I was extremely honored to put together this event because of my passion for gender equality. Sadly enough, I have been at the face of sexist remarks and microaggressions, as I'm sure many women here have as well, and have also been told what women can or can't do. From this stemmed my passion to empower women and ensure that their voice is represented in all fields, working towards defying societal standards for how women should behave and breaking the inherent patriarchy. It takes me to this quote by Malala: "I raise my voice not so I can shout, but so those without a voice can be heard. We cannot succeed when half of us are held back." It is with these powerful words that we should all continue to raise awareness about gender bias and take action towards achieving equality. On this day, we should honor all women that have helped us reach the place that we are at now, but realize that there is still lots of work that needs to be done to achieve our dream of a truly egalitarian society. It took hundreds of years for the 19th Amendment to get passed, further exemplifying the patriarchal system that is rooted within our society. Today, women across the world are subject to discrimination, whether that be through the high rates of child marriages, lack of female representation in several fields, or wage disparities. The theme for this year's International Women's Day is Choose to Challenge. So let's all choose to challenge by celebrating women's achievements, raising awareness against bias, and taking action for equality. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Olivia, the State Director from Georgia, Generation Ratify, here to speak with us about their organization and platform.
Hey y'all, I'm so excited to be here. Let me share my screen real fast. Okay, so as Mayor mentioned, I am from Generation Ratify Georgia. I'm the state director, and so just a little bit about Generation Ratify. Generation Ratify is the youth-led movement to ratify the ERA, or the Equal Rights Amendment, and to advance gender equality in the United States. Our mission is to build a coalition of young people across the country leading an intersectional feminist revolution that empowers and advocates for the full equality of young women, non-conforming, non-binary, femme, and queer folks. So a little bit more about Generation Ratify Georgia. We started in August of 2020. We have over 200 members with one chapter in Atlanta, and we're working on getting another one for folks in Fulton who do not live in Atlanta. And we worked with Fair Fight, New Georgia, and the Warnock and Ossoff campaigns during the 2020 elections and runoffs. The National has held numerous past actions, including filing an amicus brief, hosting lobby days, and holding direct actions across the country. In just the short time we've been our chapter, Generation Ratify Georgia has hosted various Get Up Vote events, participated in a banner drop. We've held a conversation with Oliver Butler, the Broadway director of What the Constitution Means to Me, in support of Sarah Tyndall Gazelle, and we advocated with organizations across the state for the ERA amendment in Georgia, which currently is HR 80 in the Georgia House. So just a little bit more about why the ERA is important. The ERA would set a clear judicial standard for deciding cases of sex discrimination, and it would give us a strong legal defense against a rollback of significant advances in gender equality that have been achieved since the mid-20th century. It also would give us an expansion of power to legislate gender equality for issues like economic inequity, educational inequality, and queer liberation. So why is now the time to get involved? So the Commonwealth of Virginia, State of Illinois, and State of Nevada v. David S. Ferriero was just ruled in federal court by a federal judge, basically saying that the deadline on the ERA still stands and that Congress does have the power to legislate that. However, that is likely to be appealed and is likely to go all the way to the Supreme Court. We also have HJ Res 17 and SJ Resolution 1, which would both legislate to remove the deadline from the ERA. HJ Res 17 is expected to go to the floor of the House next week. And as always, state policy is very important. Today was crossover day in the Georgia legislature, so we have a lot of work for the next few weeks as we move into the closing of the Georgia legislative session. And finally, how can you get involved with Generation Ratify Georgia if gender equality and the ERA is something you're passionate about? You can join our state board. We currently have positions open for content director and finance director. You can start your own chapter. We're always looking for ways that other members can get involved. And you can join our Slack. If you're interested in any of these opportunities or you have any more questions about what we do or the ERA, please feel free to email me at gagenerationratify@gmail.com or contact me. My phone number is right there. And I will leave this slide up for a little bit longer, but if anyone has any questions, I would love to answer them.
Yeah, thank you for that, Olivia. I'd also like to ask, just in your personal opinion, why do you think it's important that youth get involved in this fight?
Yeah, I think that the ERA has definitely been something that has been tried to get passed for years now. But we're all really excited that we've kind of entered this new wave of the ERA where young people are getting involved. We all obviously know that young people are really important and the ways that they are creative and passionate about all of these different topics. So having youth involved allows us to come at it with a different perspective and hopefully be even more energized about this fight. I know a lot of people that have been in this movement for a while are definitely kind of tired and frustrated about what's been going on. So having a new perspective that hasn't necessarily been fighting as long, so might have more energy, can really help us make sure that the ERA does get passed and does become enshrined in our Constitution.
Yeah. Another question. So, why do you feel a platform like Generation Ratify is important to have?
Yeah, Generation Ratify not only advocates for gender equality, but it's also an amazing community. We have people from all over the United States, from all different backgrounds, all different political ideas, and we can all come together and kind of share both the good times and the bad times where we might ourselves have experienced sexism or feeling down about the current political climate. So not only being in a place where real change is a priority, but having people that will support you and will always be there for you is also really important.
Absolutely. So, why do you feel like, why do you personally, why are you in this fight for Generation Ratify?
Yeah, so long story short, I used to not be a supporter of the ERA. We've put that behind us now. I am now a full supporter, but for me, I think it's really important to kind of educate people on those myths that I personally fell prey to. There are a lot of misconceptions about the ERA and what it would mean for women and for the United States. And so for me personally, I'm in this fight because I want to show people what the ERA actually means and how it will help everyone, not just women. And so I think it's really important to educate people on what the ERA actually means, not just what we've heard for years.
Absolutely. And in your perspective, where do you feel the topic of gender equality is at a local level, at a national level, and at an international level?
Yeah, so we'll start with local. I think Georgia is kind of working towards a point where gender equality is more bipartisan. A few sessions ago, the ERA was introduced by both a Democratic senator and a Republican senator. Unfortunately, those measures did not end up getting passed, but bipartisanship has always been fundamental to our local politics. And so I think that as we continue to work together, we're getting to a place where Georgia is more likely to pass something like the ERA. My state senator, actually, Jen Jordan, was talking about it in November, and she really thinks, and I believe as well, that Georgia is the future of the South. And so, we were actually had the first female senator, technically on a technicality, but we'll still take it. We had the first female senator, and so continuing to build up on that legacy and pass more gender equality laws is definitely something that I think will continue to happen as we move into our new future. On a national level, I think we are situated in a part where gender equality has become more of an issue President Biden's campaign platform included the ERA and other measures that would be instituted. And so I think with our House and our Senate and our president having gender equality at the forefront of their mind is definitely something that's super exciting. And like I mentioned, HJ Resolution 17 is supposed to move to the floor next week. So that just shows how passionate they are and how ready they are to make gender equality legislation. And nationally, I definitely think we have some further places to go. Obviously, today being International Women's Day, we have shared both hardships and celebrations around the world of what people are doing to further gender equality. Obviously, we still have a long way to go, but today and every day, we've seen just how passionate female leaders, both women and girls across the world, are about education and equality. So I definitely think that we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. This might be a hard question, but who is one female leader that you look up to?
It's actually not that hard. Senator Jen Jordan from the Georgia 6th, she actually today just spoke in the well today about the voter suppression bills that are happening in Georgia. But I've looked up to her for a really long time since she first started campaigning in a special election back in 2017. I've paged her multiple times. I also worked on her campaign. She really exemplifies what it means to be a strong woman. She loves to open the door and hold the door for people behind her and just get involved. And she's an amazing inspiration of what we can accomplish when we work together. So,
Absolutely. And then moving on to the final question, from my side. What potential or what power do you see in the youth?
I obviously, being youth myself, I'm a little biased, but I think that we can hold real power. I think a lot of us are really hungry and really excited to make change. And we're willing to do that in more ways that might seem unconventional. And so I think that with that new energy and that creativity, we can really work together to make lasting change. So I think we're super powerful. And as long as we keep working for it, we can make lasting impacts.
Absolutely. Yeah, so with that concludes questions from my end. I'll leave it open for questions from anyone else. If you want to put the email in the chat box for anyone, you should definitely join. I think it's an excellent organization that is working towards gender equality at a national level. Not just national, sorry, local, actually at all levels, but yeah. I'll just leave the chat open if anyone has any questions. And seeing none, thank you so much for joining us, Olivia. I hope a lot of you go and join Generation Ratify. The people there are amazing. Olivia is amazing. She is the Georgia State Director of Generation Ratify. So if you join, you'll be hearing from her. But yeah, with that, thank you for joining us.